What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I am going to be talking about an extremely destructive habit that every single man does that keeps him weak and allows him to avoid taking responsibility in his life. And it's being a hater, okay? Whether that's on social media or whether that's in person, if you are somebody who is constantly critiquing another man or critiquing another person, critiquing another people group, you have a problem. Like, I want you to think about all of the problems that you actually have in your life, the things that are actually dragging you down. And then I want you to think about the amount of energy that you probably spend throughout the day focusing on what other people are doing when what those people are doing has absolutely no impact on your life on a day-to-day basis. Now, I come at you guys and I tell you this from my own personal experience. I'm not saying, oh, you guys need to stop doing this right now. I am incredibly inclined to hate on other people. I used to be somebody who identified very heavily with a political party, and I thought everybody who disagrees with me is wrong. And I would spend all of my time having conversations about how terrible the other side was, and guess what it brought? Nothing but misery, nothing but slothfulness, nothing but distractions. You see, we as humans, when we encounter pain, we automatically want to escape. And one of the ways that we can do that in the 21st century, since we have access to our phones, we have access to social media, and we have access to news reporting on what's going on around the entire world, we are able to look at those other things that are going on in places that we've never been to before, things that don't affect us at all, and we can say, hey, this problem is going on, but at the same time, it doesn't affect us at all, while we are also distracting ourselves from what we actually need to do in order to become better ourselves and in order to improve our life. I'll give you a couple examples of how I've seen this play out with people over the span of the past couple months, all right? Let's think about it. Some people hate the Jews. They really hate them. And they spend their entire life talking about how terrible they are and how they are destroying the society and how everything is going to shit because of the Jews. Some people think that it's the liberals. Some of the liberals think that it's the conservatives. Men think that it's women. Some women think that it's men. Everybody pitted against each other. When you look at it from a third-person perspective, how many of these opinions that you hold are actually impacting your life? Like, how many of them are actually changing the way that you go about your life on a day-to-day basis? Why are you so worried about the Jews or about the Muslims or about the conservatives or about the liberals? You're fat, bro. You're out of shape. You have a productivity problem. You can't even sit down and focus on something that you're trying to do on a regular basis. You can't even fall asleep every single night without jerking off. You can't even get through a day without watching porn. You can't even stop yourself from shoving shitty foods into your mouth every single meal. Your digestion's terrible. You're living this terribly unhealthy lifestyle. Your mental is all fucked up because you're spending all of this time on external things that don't actually matter. And then you go out and you blame all of these other people for your problems. And you sit around with other people and talk about all these other things that don't actually have any effect on you. Do you see how we as people need to go inwards more? We need to focus more on the problems that are actually going on in our own lives and in our own communities before we go out into the world. Because these people, they spend all of this time complaining or even hating on other people, when in reality, they're the ones that hate themselves. They can't even live with themselves, and that's why they choose to go outward and blame other people and say that they're the problem, because they can't even solve their own problems, and so they're trying to distract themselves. There's men that spend all day in Reddit forums and in comment sections debating with other people, trying to convince someone else that they are right and that the other person is wrong, when they're never going to meet that person in real life. You're never going to give a shit about that other person, and for some reason, you are willing to spend your time wasting it, consuming content that's getting you worked up about stuff that doesn't even actually matter. I see this also with men who are constantly rooting on the downfall of other men. They're constantly waiting to try to see if somebody else is going to slip up or if somebody else is going to fall. They really get off to the idea of, oh, this person's in a better position than me, and so I'm going to spend my time and energy stalking them and basically trying to figure out what their life looks like, so that eventually, once they fall off, I can say, oh, wow, I'm so right. I'm so glad that I never lived that lifestyle. I'm so glad that I never took that risk. I'm so glad that I never put myself out there. These people exist, and it's most people, because in life, you can either be a creator or you can be a consumer. You can be a creator or you can be a consumer. You can be a thought leader, somebody who actually thinks and goes out and puts your information out there for the public to be able to judge, or you can sit back, you can consume other ideas from other people, you can spit them back out in the form of a comment on a post that doesn't even have a profile picture, that's not tied to your name, and spend it debating nobodies all day on the internet. Men do this to avoid responsibility. And it's one of the biggest issues, is that they've somehow convinced themselves that everybody else is their problem and that everybody else is the reason why their life sucks. When in reality, they're making their lives suck all by themselves. It's their fault. You know, people ask me, Brandon, how do I become successful in today's society? And this is what I have to tell them. Just don't get caught up in stuff like this. Don't put your energy towards stuff like this. The stuff that sucks the life out of you. Become a creator. Become somebody who goes out into the world and builds something, because other people are going to critique it. And that's when you're going to see for real just how many losers there are out there. When you put yourself out there to be critiqued, you're going to see all of these other people have opinions, but they don't make videos about it. They don't put themselves out there. They don't go out there and actually do things with their life, because they are so busy being obsessed with the lives of other people. I myself will sometimes catch myself wishing ill upon somebody else, but if I really analyze it and I think about it, I realize that I'm envious of them for something. And I might not even realize it at first, but when you hate someone, it means that you have a lot of self-reflection to do, because there's something about yourself that you have not accepted that is causing you to lash out at others in order to avoid holding yourself accountable, in order to avoid responsibility. So I've had to actively detach myself many times from the political sphere, from watching the news, from consuming certain people's content, from having conversations with certain people in person. I've just had to detach myself because I realized that it wasn't good for me to focus on what other people were doing. I needed to go inward more. I needed to pay more attention to my own life, because, guys, you can only handle so much. These people who are scrolling all day long, they can't remember any of the stuff that they consume because your brain was not made in order to absorb that much information in a span of 30 minutes of scrolling, which is why people actually suffer short-term memory loss when they're scrolling on their phones all day, because it's legitimately giving them temporary onset ADHD where their brain can't process everything fully. And so your brain starts to malfunction. You start to short circuit when there's so much input from everybody else. The power is in being able to put the blinders on, to be able to focus on a specific task at hand, to go out and create your own thing without focusing on what everybody else is doing, to go build something, to help people. I hope you guys found this video helpful. Make sure to drop a like down below if you did. Drop a singular thumbs up in the comment section if you watched all the way through to the end of it, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Peace.